Ba, 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 ba. The only Dawson refuses to be categorized podcast. Hello, beautiful humans. I'm so glad you're here. I thought today, for shits and giggles, that I would catch you up, read you some of my diary entries, all that kind of shit. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll probably just ramble a bit anyway. I am sitting in my car, and it is beautiful, and it is raining, and I am very happy for it to be raining because I feel most like myself when it is raining. So I don't really feel like going anywhere. It's grey, and there's like a little lamp post. It's kind of vintage looking, and it's all glowing in the rain, and it just feels nice. And I still have like 15 minutes before I have to leave for a school run, so this would be a nice way to catch up. Okay, first and foremost, before I read you my old diary entries and stuff from the past, a few weeks, I thought I'd share where I'm at right this very moment. So right this very moment, one, I broke my little toe at the start of the week, and it was just like one of those moments where you stub your toe so badly and you think, fuck. But this time it was like with this really loud, awful, disgusting bone crack. And I thought that's going to be bad. That's going to be bad. And spoiler alert, it was bad. So my foot is kind of purple and black and horrific. And that would have been fine, except for the fact that 2 days afterwards, I was scheduled to volunteer as a chaperone for my youngest daughter's school excursion, where we spent, I think, 5 hours on a bus, on a rickety school bus, and then 3 or 4 hours traipsing around a big museum. And this is with a class of 5 to 8 year olds. And we had to look after them and make sure that we didn't lose and each shoulder that didn't belong to us. And I was hobbling along with a broken toe. Anyway, that, because I'm not walking properly on one foot, has just kind of thrown everything out. And so by the time I got off the bus, my back was kind of pretty much fused up. And I was just in so much pain last night and then so much pain this morning. So I just had some pain and inflammation pills and went in a hot bath with magnesium. And luckily I had an osteopath appointment this afternoon. And I'm in real slow mode. I'm just walking so slowly because I just can't. But I've got the weekend ahead of me. Sophie, my wonderful osteopath, has gotten me good enough that I can function a little bit. I'm not in as much pain, thank goodness. And I'll just rest and heat pack and elevate my foot. And trying to remember not to volunteer on school excursions with a broken toe. That's a really bad idea, Leonie. That's just makes everything so bad. And I was thinking the other night, oh my God, what if somebody thought that I was making up the amount of body maladies I have, right? I remember Jamil, and I have no idea whether it's true or not, but some journalist went through and investigated every incident, physical incident that she's had, because it just seems too much for one person, right? And Jamila also has hypermobility, right? And so she dislocates shit and gets herself into issues that an ordinary person just wouldn't experience. So I was I'm sure my various body maladies would just seem kind of nuts to a lot of people. But you know what? That's the fucking joy of hypermobility, and also just having a body that doesn't necessarily work like a lot of people's bodies, and fuck it. if somebody wants to think like, oh, Leonie and her body, like she's really got some issues, like good on you, doll, good on you. And for everybody else who's a fucking human and who, who realizes that every person's body does something different, and maybe take some comfort in the fact that I actually am a very human, and can create and do things, but I also need to take extra special care of this special little beautiful body of mine, then cool. It is like, how many weeks? I think I've got 2 weeks now left for until school holiday starts. I was doing awesome, like going through the school term, and now I'm at the point where like, no, I'm not. I'm done. Like I've got enough. Thank you. I've had enough. Thank you so much. Okay, let's just rock this. Roll this up. I'd just like to have some days where I don't leave the house like consecutively, in quite a lot. And here's the thing, right? Is that like it's sort of different, of course, when you have kids at home, because you have kids at home, so you don't necessarily like get as much alone time. But I just really fucking enjoy. Thank you, Mr. Noisy Car. I just really enjoy not leaving the house. So I will take the hit of my kids not leaving the house if it means I don't have to leave the house. Plus, thankfully, my kids are kind of similar disposition to me in that they just like being at home. They're kind of homebodies, and they will probably spend most of their school holidays just playing in their own world, and they'll come out to eat, but mostly they just like hanging out with each other. I feel very lucky, very, very lucky for that to be the case. And they like to draw, and if I give them enough craft supplies and books and enough empty space for them to play, then that's kind of enough. Thankfully, at this point in time, and just keep in mind, like, of course, it's different when they're younger because they don't have the capacity to play for long periods of time without, like, just like dropping shit and hurting themselves. And I feel like when you got toddlers, they're just constantly fucking dropping shit and dropping themselves and hurting themselves and needing constant care, like you can't even sit down for 20 fucking seconds. But now I can sit down for hours on end, and when the kids say, I'm hungry, I say, cool, well, there's a kitchen, boo. Go have something from that's how kitchens work. There's food in them. Anyway, so that's me. I'm groovy. I'm kind of finding myself waking up a little bit after taking a month off work. So let's catch up on some diary entries. Yeah, woo! Insert music here like a professional podcast would. Yeah, welcome back to our latest episode. Welcome back to the next session. I don't know, what is it called? The next part of this episode. Whatever. Please no, I did not edit this. It's just like straight record. Of course I haven't fucking edited it. Oh my God. All right, let's do this. Monday, 17th of May, 2021. I'm still in this kind of fallow, wandering place between busy patches of creating. And I don't want to be in any rush to get busy again. Not until I've seen the forest for the trees. And instead, I am focusing on filling my well and consuming other people's creations and generally just trying to rest and organize and simplify. I've been falling down rabbit holes of inspiration like Dan Price, who's still doing his wonderful pen and watercolor journal pages. And Morgan Harper Nichols, who combines poetry and abstract digital art via books and Society 6. And Susan Branch, and I can't believe I've just discovered her. She is a watercolor artist and an author who's been making books and products since the 1980s and has a devoted circle of readers. She is so prolific and so enduring and so inspiring. And I don't know where all of this is leading me yet. I just know it's got me itching to create. I just don't know what yet, what form, or how, or when. It's all just possibilities, and I'll let you know what blooms up in this empty expanse. For now, in patience, emptiness, and tilling, it's me. All right. Next diary entry. Oh no, I should do a sound effect. Should I? Oh, now my fucking website blocker is saying that I can't go on that page. Well, you can get fucked. I can go on my own website whenever I like. Website blocker. Okay. Leonie does TV. So, what else have I been up to? I'm so glad you asked. All the fucking things all the time. I've been reading a lot of books and blogs and watching TV a lot during this fallow period. I fucking loved watching Anne with an E and Love on the Spectrum and Enola Holmes. That was 10 out of 10 adorable. And I've also been watching some comedy specials, and I didn't just watch them. I had to draw the comics at the same time, because what does Leonie easily get? Bored. And what must Leonie do? Keep her hands busy while her mind soaks up all the lols. I mean, it's a real surprise that I got diagnosed with ADHD alongside ye old autisms, right? Anyway, first up, Bridget Everett's special, Gynecological Wonder. I can't stop thinking about this chick because she's just so fucking gloriously wild, and she just makes me want to be even bolder and braver. When I first saw her open for an Amy Schumer episode at a special a few years ago, I didn't get it at all, but now I do, because she's fucking glorious. She's feminist, she's sexy, she's irreverent and subversive, and I am into it. So I ended up buying Bridget Everett Gynecological Wonder on iTunes. I think you can also get it on Amazon Prime in the US, but not in Australia. And I watched a bunch of her short sets on YouTube first, got addicted, and then bought it and laughed myself senseless. And then kept on singing her songs to every person around me. And I'm sure they enjoyed it. I also watched James Acaster's 4-part repertoire series, which was on Netflix a few years ago, and it's genius. My youngest kid totally loves the way that he moves his body, and she finds him very funny. She even went so far as to say that he was her favourite James in the whole wide world. And I said, how very dare you? James Taylor is the one and only James there ever was and ever will be. And then she was like, oh, Mummy, you're so funny. And I was serious. Anyway, Cold Lasagna, Hate Myself 1999 is James Acaster's new work, and it's fairly different from Repertoire in that it's way more personal. He talks candidly about his mental health issues and episodes, and sometimes it feels like a wee bit like Hannah Gadsby's Groundbreaking Nanette. If you know, Hannah's girlfriend left her for Mr. Bean, which absolutely did happen to James Acaster, and he goes into heartbreaking and hilarious detail about it. So yes, James Acaster, nowhere near the number one James in the world, because all the top 100 spots for Jameses are James Taylor. But he is a funny fucker nonetheless. So if you've got any TV, movie, and comedy recommendations, please email me. And I will add them to my to-watch list. What else? Oh, here we go. Here's a cranky little diary entry from 28th of May. I am doing a complex series of naturopath hormone tests that require me to limit my water intake for the day. I'm drinking maybe 30% of what I usually drink, and this is a real fucking buzzkill to my day. I am part mermaid, and I need great heapings of fluid to stop my tail from drying out. Also, I am not going to include that mermaid quote from Anais Nin here, because I just read about her long sexual affair with her father. I mean, bag all the hotties you want, right? But maybe just don't fuck your dad. And of course, it's none of my business, and also it's a very complex case of late onset incest. But I just can't look at a fucking cute meme of an Anais Nin quote again. Anyway, I bet you weren't expecting that we would go there today. To be fair, I wasn't expecting to either, but here we are nonetheless. Anyway, back to the topic at hand, which is hydration and not incest. God. So anyway, on top of being a parched, husk of a mermaid today. I have also been denied my daily tea intake, which includes my breakfast cup of chai with milk and honey, and the half a dozen or so giant vats of caffeine-free herbal tea that I drink throughout the day, like peppermint and celestial seasoning sleepy time and chamomile and spearmint. Let me tell you, being without my teas has made me feel wildly disgruntled and out of step with the world. Ordinarily, I would consider myself a relatively unfussy, happy kind of personality, that I don't really need much to be happy, but it turns out that I actually need tea and water and lots of it. That's my happiness baseline. Well, that and, just being at home, of course. So anyway, writing all this has chewed up some more dreadful fluid-free hours. So thanks for listening to me bitch and moan. Also, thanks for hanging in there when I got ranty about niacin, and thanks for being you. I'm really grateful that we get to be pen pals like this. Righto, it's time for me for the final dehydrated pee test, and then I can have a tea and water party. I feel like a thirsty traveller in the desert spotting a mirage. Love, your dramatic dried up friend, Leonie. All right, next diary entry, May 28th. Begin again. Dearest, I'm sitting in a dark cafe drinking tea and cake at 8 a.m. When I asked the waitress for cake at this time, she was confused, and she asked me again to make sure that she'd heard correctly, to which, internally, I thought, how very dare you. Of course I am having cake at 8 a.m. I am a grown-ass woman, and I can do what I want. And of course their cake is stale, but at least their tea is very good. I feel like I'm getting on the horse again after a long spell off, like blogging, is this how you do it? Podcasting, is this how you do it? I mean, I might have blogged for the last 17 years, but give me a month off and all of a sudden I don't know how to do it. Begin again, I remind myself. Just begin again. And then I read this thing from a book called, what was it again? Let me double check. Conscious Creativity by Philippa Stanton. And she had a great little 2 pages on burnout. And she talks about creative burnout is something that will usually happen at some stage to most creative people. It can happen because you've been creating lots of work, often with great purpose and possibly huge responsibility. During a burnout, it's important to make small changes to your routine and maybe invent some new habits. This is the ideal time to make trips to museums and galleries with no purpose other than looking at lots of different things and maybe reading some new facts. Your creative muse has probably been starved of stimulation and any genuine excitement has vanished. So you need to feed yourself at this point with the interesting information that your brain can later connect to lots of creative ideas or thoughts. Anyway, there's more there. If you go to leoniedawson.com/begin-again, you can read the whole thing. So here's the thing. I don't really think I'm burnt out per se. I mean, at least not like burnout like I've done burnout before. Just like burnout like it's a competitive sport. Burnout like crippling anxiety and not stopping until, well, just wasn't empty but bankrupt. And my body gave me no choice but to stop. This is like burnout from 10 miles away. 10 time to slow down and stop and fill the tank long before it goes bust. Look at me, taking care of myself before it's a mission critical situation. That's progress, I reckon. I think what I'm learning along the way as well is that the more time you can give yourself off work, the more you can make better and more strategic decisions, and your work just gets better and deeper. So when I took a month off over last Christmas, it was beyond useful. There's that old business adage which says you've got to slow down to speed up. I still don't really know what's next for me, and I'm not even really back at work. I just wanted to write and create and muse out loud and say hello. I'm here, I'm gestating, I'm waiting, I'm germinating. I asked the angels yesterday to give me a new project. I haven't heard back from them yet, but I'll let you know once I know. What else, my lovely beans? Well, I did a very fun pinboard project. If you go on over to the blog, you can find the projects. We had like a brown pinboard, just one of those basic bitch ones, in my daughter's bedroom. And we decided to make it over. And I took photos. And then it was only later that I remembered that I did the same project with her 11 years ago. But she was in my belly then. And now she's taller than my shoulder with like limbs akimbo. And I think, how? How did you once fit inside me? But she did, and we made art together then, and we make art together now. Anyway, it was hecka cute. Honestly, it's the best thing to like make shit, and then it's also the best thing to like see your womb fruits grow up and make their own cool shit as well. Oh, what else? Well, I ended up having to take one of my kids to a new doctor, and I was really delighted by their new patient information form, because when you like had to fill out a form with, your title, your first name, your surname, middle name, date of birth, all that kind of stuff, it also included your birth sex and your gender identity and pronouns. And it even included they, them, theirs as one of the pronouns. And it just delighted me. I haven't seen this before on other forms like out in the world medically. And these little things, to be more inclusive, they matter. They matter a lot. It makes the world safer for all of us. And it's not perfect. That form wasn't perfect, but it's the best that I've seen out in the wild so far. Also, I just found an excellent read at Berkelo Book Barn in Newmundi. It is The Pronoun Lowdown, which is Demystifying and Celebrating Gender Diversity by Nevo Vizin. And I usually read most books in Kindle now, but that one is worth getting in paperback or hardback. It is beautifully designed with sumptuous colours, and I highly recommend it. So if you want to learn more about gender and pronouns and all that stuff, that one's really important to read. And I also have my complete list of favourite books on gender and LGBTQIA plus issues over at leonadawson.com/gender. Now, if you don't understand why an inclusive form like that matters, here's the thing. It actually saves lives. It actually saves lives. And if you don't understand how, then you need to read more so that you understand. Another diary entry for you. May 31st, Vignettes. Little moments, little thoughts, little stories to share with you. On the weekend, I got to hang out in a magical artist studio with friends and their kiddly wings. We painted up a colourful storm, and after a while, the kids drifted away into their own world in the garden, as they're wont to do. It was especially precious because my eldest kid was reunited at last with her best friend from kindergarten from Canberra. It's been so many years that neither of them could really remember each other, but they just fell into the sweetest playing, and it made my mama heart very, very full. Also, that garden, that afternoon, that moment, all of it reminded me why we moved here, to cultivate the wild and the florid green in our children. Sometimes I think that I will have a great life as a widow, that there's a part of me that's so solitary, so self-contained that I think I need only my own company to be happy, that I have missed my calling as a monk or a hermit. I think to myself that I would be fine, completely fine in my life post-husband. I imagined that I'd have a little apartment filled to the brim with art and books, and I'd happily dole out my days walking the river, reading and scribbling in my journal and talking to plants and wild animals. But then I actually have time away from my husband. And the first few hours are gladness and rapture, but soon my compass needle writes and it points only to him. And I want to run wildly back to him, groping my way in the dark just to sniff him, to cover myself with the pelt of him. And I realised that actually maybe I won't be such a great widow after all. Not if it means being without him. Once, I was waiting in the grocery line store and I saw someone that I thought was someone, and I merrily waved to her and I gave her a giant hug, and she was obliging and kind but slightly confused. She wasn't the person that I was thinking of. She was somebody else. She was a mum at my kid's school that I'd never spoken to before. What else? Oh, this. When my littlest was a toddler, we taught her how to play scissors, paper, rock. Except for every turn, she would do scissors and then would chop up our scissors, our papers and our rock with her pudgy toddler fingers, all while merrily chirping, cut, 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 cut. Her scissors trumped all else, and it didn't matter how often we corrected her. Just merrily, cut, 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 as tiny fingers gouged tenderly at ours until we acquiesced. And of course we did acquiesce because Toddler Beth's cut, 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 cut was the winning move, the one that trumped all else, the one that made us all giggle uncontrollably. She had strawberry blonde hair that curled at the ends, almond-shaped eyes, and wrists that were fat with deliciousness. We were helpless in the storm of her gladness and her insistence, and we still are. My eldest daughter was 6 then, and she would coo as though she was witnessing the most adorable creature on earth. Oh, Mum, she's just so cute. I love her the most. I love you and I love Daddy, but I love Beffy the most. Our little toddler is 7 now, and her hair has straightened, her wrists have thinned, her legs tripled upon themselves. And now when we play rock, paper, scissors, we all clamour to play the winning move. Just cut, 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 cut. Relentlessly, joyfully, tenderly, despite all of the rules. Because that's what she taught us all to do 5 years ago. And that's what she teaches us now. Well, it's been 3-4 days since I started recording this. A big 3 or 4 days. So I finished recording it. I listened to the rain outside the car. It was beautiful. Then I went and picked up my daughter and my youngest daughter, and she was feeling really unlike herself. As soon as I picked her up from school, she had a fever and she fell asleep in the car on the way home, which is very unlike her. And then she spewed on me, and the poor love. She just had one of those early, those fierce onset colds. Don't worry, it's not COVID. I feel like we always have to say that. Right. Anyway, the next day, I had to take my eldest daughter to the hospital, to the doctors, to get the results of an ultrasound. And it was only going to be like a 20-minute just quick pop out to the doctors. So I just went with her and we got checked over, and the doctor was like, okay, you need to go straight to hospital now. Off you trot. This is looking like appendicitis. So that was surprising. That was so surprising. So we couldn't head off to the little hospital near us. We had to head down to one that's about an hour away because it had a pediatric ward and surgery and all that kind of stuff. So we went down there, and it's kind of funny because we live in a smaller town where we are, and mostly retired people. And when we go into the emergency ward here, it is mostly just, and I'm not even kidding, it is just retired people with gardening injuries or cooking injuries, and usually a surfer injury as well, who's just got busted up on the rocks. It's like a very certain demographic. So when I had to go to a city emergency room that actually deals with real shit, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh no. And at one point, a number of points, I had to I purposely put my daughter between me and the wall so that I could kind of be a bit of a brace against other things that were happening in the room, because it was kind of more intense. Anyway, we finally got into the pediatric ward. We got admitted overnight. It was not fun. having her get a cannula in the arm was not fun. I mean, we're so lucky in that my kids haven't really needed to go to, they've never had to do a overnight since they were born. And yeah, the cannula was not a great experience, and it was all just a bit of a shock really for both of us, because we were expecting to be at home. We had no clothes, we had nothing on us, and because my youngest daughter had had a fever within the last 24 hours, my husband couldn't come, and it was malarkey. Anyway, we had her prepped for surgery, and then at the last minute they decided she didn't have appendicitis, she had something else. I'm gonna have a red hot go of saying the name. I think it's mesenteric adenitis, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, bless her. It was something that they didn't need to. Yes, no surgery. But we were there for a good long while, and we got out on the weekend, and then she was kind of feeling well enough to try school today, and that lasted 90 minutes before the teacher called to come and get her. So I am fucking exhausted. I'm fucking exhausted, guys. And I don't even know. I think I need to sleep or something. Do I sound like I need to sleep? I probably need to sleep. Jeez, holy moly. Anyway, so hopefully that is the 3 done and dusted. Me breaking my toe, being spit on by littlest daughter, and her being unwell, and having a little hospital visit all in 1 week. Oh, and then remember how I'd volunteer for an excursion as well? What a week. What a week. It's enough. Done and dusted. Okay, that's all I got for you. Okay, bye.